There's a moment in life when everything feels stuck. You keep trying to push forward, but nothing really moves. And no matter how hard you try, it feels like you're carrying a weight that doesn't belong to you anymore. That weight, it's the one thing you're still holding on to. The thing that's keeping you from the clarity, the freedom, and the growth that's waiting just on the other side.
It's not always obvious. It could be a grudge, a false belief, an outdated version of yourself, or the need to control outcomes. But whatever it is, it's sitting right between you and the life you want to live. And here's the tricky part. The longer you hold on to it, the more it blends into your identity. You start thinking it's you. And that's when life stops changing. Not because it can't, but because you won't let it. We often confuse holding on with strength, but the real strength, that comes when you finally loosen your grip. Because letting go isn't weakness. Letting go is deciding that your peace matters more than your ego. That your future matters more than your fear. It's the decision to stop trying to win battles that don't even exist anymore. To stop proving things to people who are never listening. And here's what most people don't realize. Change doesn't always come from adding something new. Sometimes it's about subtracting what no longer serves you. Think about it. You don't need a new book, a new course, or a new routine. You need space. Space in your mind, space in your heart, space in your day. And the only way to create that space is to let go of what's cluttering it. This is where most people get stuck. They want change, but they're still dragging around what's been keeping them the same. You can't evolve while clutching onto things that belong to your old self. You can't step forward with your hands full of yesterday. When you finally release it, whatever it is for you, it's like taking a breath you didn't know you were holding. Things start clicking. Your focus sharpens, the energy shifts, the fog lifts, and you realize that life didn't need to change. You did. And the moment you do, life responds fast. Letting go isn't always about some huge, dramatic event. It's often quieter than that. Sometimes it looks like finally deleting that message you've been rereading for months. Sometimes it's deciding not to answer a phone call. Other times it's simply choosing silence instead of trying to explain yourself again to someone who never really listened. It's not about being cold. It's about reclaiming your energy. We live in a world that constantly whispers, hold on, try harder, fix it. But some things aren't meant to be fixed. Some things are only meant to teach you something, then be released. If you keep going back, trying to rework it, trying to control how the story ends, you don't just lose your time. You lose yourself in the process. There's a reason you feel tired all the time. It's not just the long days or the busy mind. It's emotional weight. You're carrying invisible bags, overthinking, past regrets, people-pleasing, the fear of disappointing others. And the wild thing? No one even sees it. On the outside, you're functioning, smiling, moving forward, but inside, you're dragging all that noise around, and it's exhausting. Letting go is a decision. It's not something that just happens when you feel ready, because you probably never will. Your mind is too attached to comfort. Even if something is hurting you, if it's familiar, you'll keep choosing it. Why? Because the unknown is uncomfortable, but that's exactly where your freedom lives. So when you finally say, enough, when you choose to drop the invisible load, you don't just gain clarity, you gain power, real power. Not the kind that controls others or forces outcomes, but the kind that makes you peaceful no matter what happens next. It's not about abandoning everything. It's about choosing you again. Choosing to stop giving your energy away to people, stories, or expectations that don't feed your growth. And it's crazy how fast life responds when you create that space. You meet new people. Better opportunities show up. The weight lifts. Suddenly you realize life wasn't resisting you. You were resisting life. And now you're finally in flow. One of the hardest things to realize is that not everything you lose is a loss. Read that again. Some things falling apart isn't a sign that life is going wrong. It's life finally clearing space. And once you see that, you stop panicking when things leave. You stop begging for closure. You stop chasing after people who already let go of you in their mind. The truth is, you can't force alignment. You can't hold on to what doesn't want to stay, and you shouldn't have to. Because when something fits, when it truly belongs in your life, it doesn't have to be chased. It shows up, it stays. It supports your peace, not your anxiety. That's where letting go becomes a kind of superpower, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in the quiet decision to stop fighting for what keeps draining you, in the strength it takes to stop trying to control what was never yours to begin with. And this isn't about giving up, it's about surrender. There's a difference. Giving up is when you collapse in defeat. Surrender is when you finally exhale and say, I trust there's something better for me than this. Because here's what they don't teach you. The moment you stop chasing, things that are meant for you start moving toward you. But they couldn't before. Not because they weren't there, but because you were too busy gripping what was already gone. It's like trying to catch new blessings with full hands. There's no room. You've got to release the unnecessary before the necessary can reach you. And sometimes what's unnecessary is the version of you that keeps trying to prove your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And when you finally stop doing that, when you stop shrinking yourself for approval, when you stop replaying the past like there's a hidden answer you missed, everything starts to shift. You begin to notice how peaceful it feels to not explain yourself, how light it feels to not be responsible for everyone's expectations, how much more energy you have when you're not emotionally babysitting the wrong people. That's the beginning of real change, not when everything outside of you transforms, but when you stop needing it to, because you've already made the shift inside. Letting go isn't always about things or people. Sometimes what you need to let go of most is a version of yourself, the version of you that learned to shrink for love, the version that thought silence meant strength, the one that held it all together for everyone else while falling apart silently. You carry old beliefs like a second skin, not realizing they were never truly yours. They were handed to you, programmed into you, repeated until you believed they were the only truth. But here's the thing, your mind was wired for survival, not peace. It was built to detect threat, not happiness. So, if you've spent years in fight or flight, people-pleasing, worrying, overthinking, that's not a character flaw, that's conditioning. And what's conditioned can be relearned. This is why people say, the healing is in the unlearning, because most of your transformation won't come from adding more, but from removing what's no longer serving you. The outdated beliefs, the automatic guilt, the false responsibility for other people's emotions. Freedom starts when you stop rehearsing pain and start rewriting your role in your own life. You stop playing the victim, not because the pain wasn't real, but because you're finally ready to reclaim your power. You stop measuring your progress by how nice you've been, and instead by how honest you're becoming, with yourself and with others. Because honesty is a form of self-respect, and letting go isn't just about peace, it's about truth. When you let go of everything that was never really you, you create space to finally meet the real you, the one who's not performing, the one who doesn't need to convince anyone, the one who's been waiting patiently behind all the layers. And once you meet that version of yourself, that free, grounded, self-aware version, life doesn't just get better. It becomes something you actually want to live fully, not just survive. Sometimes the thing you're holding on to isn't a person, a place, or even a belief. It's the illusion that you still need to fight for the life you already deserve. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means making peace with the fact that you were never supposed to control it all in the first place. It's realizing that hypercontrol was your mind's desperate attempt to feel safe in a world that made you feel uncertain. That overplanning was just anxiety dressed in productivity. That keeping people close who drain you isn't loyalty. It's self-abandonment. You see, the truth is, peace feels unfamiliar to people who grew up with chaos. Stillness can feel threatening when you've only known stimulation. And that's why so many people run from the very thing they've been craving their whole life. But real change doesn't happen when everything around you shifts. It happens when you do, quietly, internally, in the places no one sees. It's the moment you say, I'm not living like this anymore. I'm done holding on to what hurts. I'm done calling it love when it's just obligation. I'm done chasing closure from people who never offered clarity. And that decision, that invisible shift, ripples through your entire life. You stop texting just to keep people around. You stop entertaining chaos out of boredom. You stop living on autopilot. And suddenly, everything gets lighter. Your energy returns. Your face softens. Your heart doesn't feel like it's in a constant fist. You laugh more, not because life got easier, but because you finally got out of your own way. Letting go is not an event. It's a quiet revolution inside of you. The moment you stop dragging the past into your present, you create a future that actually belongs to you. And once that happens, once you really feel what it's like to live without constantly gripping, you'll wonder why you held on for so long. Letting go isn't just a spiritual phrase or a self-help cliche. It's a neurological reset. When you hold on to something tightly, an identity, a relationship, a regret, your brain adapts to that tension. It wires itself around the emotion you're stuck in. So, when you finally loosen your grip, your entire nervous system goes through withdrawal. It's like your body has been bracing for impact for so long, it forgot how to stand without armor. That's why peace feels foreign. That's why stillness makes you restless. That's why freedom can feel unsafe at first. But if you can sit through that discomfort, not run from it, not numb it, just breathe through it, you'll notice something strange. Your body will slowly start to trust you again. Not because everything's perfect, but because you finally stopped fighting yourself. This is where real transformation happens. Not when the world stops testing you, but when your reaction to it no longer drains your soul. Most people think letting go is a one-time decision, but in reality, it's a muscle. You train it over and over. When you stop replying to prove your point, when you walk away from a conversation that always ends in guilt, when you no longer feel the urge to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. That's the silent power of letting go. It doesn't scream. It doesn't post quotes about healing. It just moves differently. It shows up through restraint, through absence, through peace that no longer needs to be earned. And the more you let go, the more space you create, mentally, emotionally, even physically. You notice the clutter in your home starts to feel heavy. The noise you used to tolerate now feels like poison. You become sensitive to everything that isn't aligned with who you're becoming. And that's not sensitivity, that's clarity. Letting go reveals who you were never meant to be. And what's left behind is you, untouched by expectation, unshaken by external chaos, and unbothered by anything that no longer belongs in your energy. Letting go teaches you the art of not reacting. Because when you're always reacting, you're not living, you're just defending. You become a slave to every comment, every delay, every person who doesn't treat you the way you hoped they would. You shrink your world down to the size of your emotional triggers. But when you begin to let go, you don't just get your peace back, you get your power back. Letting go is what turns survival into intention. You start doing things because they matter to you, not because they prove something. You stop chasing attention and start giving presence. You don't enter rooms to impress people anymore. You enter rooms to feel if they belong in your world. And maybe the most unexpected part, you begin to attract everything you used to chase. Not because you're forcing anything, but because your energy has changed. The things you once clung to start to come back, or they get replaced with something even better. Not because of strategy, but because you finally stopped gripping so hard that you were pushing everything away without realizing it. People can feel the difference between someone who's desperate and someone who's done. And when you're done, when you're really done, not in bitterness, not in ego, but in truth, you glow differently. You walk lighter, you speak slower, you don't flinch at silence. You don't panic when things take longer than expected, because you've remembered that real power is calm, and that the version of you who doesn't need it is the version who gets it. So here's your invitation. Let go, not because you're giving up, but because you finally trust life enough to stop holding it hostage. You don't need to chase alignment when you're alignment, and you don't need to force what's already yours. If this message hits somewhere real for you, drop a comment and tell me where in your life you're ready to stop gripping so tightly. Let's talk about it below. And if this helped you in any way, share it. You never know who needs to hear this right now. Let go and watch everything shift.